Welcome to Xara template tutorial lesson number 83. In this tutorial I'm going to be talking about how to use the content aware scaling tool. And basically what that tool is going to allow you to do is to adjust the width and the height of an image with very little distortion, if any at all. And it's also going to allow you to zoom in on your picture and with very little distortion, again, if any at all. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that you want to do is go to your designs gallery in the upper right hand corner of your screen, lock that panel, click on the page elements folder, and then click on the photos folder, which I already had open, so I'm going to click it again just to show you that you need to open that. And then you're going to choose either landscape photos or portrait photos. In this case I'm going to choose landscape photos, and you probably want to pick the same photo that I picked if you want to follow exactly along with this tutorial. And I'm going to choose the image called boat 2, and I'm going to drag that into my workspace. And then you can close out the designs gallery, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually adjust the size of this picture to make it a little bit bigger and make it easier for you to see what's happening with this image on screen. And I'm also going to adjust the width of my page. And once you do that, we're going to go to our toolbar and we're going to look for this icon that looks like two images stacked on top of each other, and this is your content aware scaling tool. So go ahead, and actually before you click on that, I want you to take note of your info bar and see the items that you have available on there. And when I left click on this, you're going to notice that it changes, and this is going to show you all the tools you have available for the content aware scaling tool. So when you click that, and make sure you have the image selected, and if you do, click on the prepare button, and this is going to prepare the photo so that you can make those adjustments to it. And you'll notice that now there's 4 arrows on each side of this square image we have here. And if you double left click on one of these arrows and resize the width, you'll notice that it resizes it, and there's very little distortion. At least there's not a lot of distortion that you can notice really to the untrained eye. Somebody came to your website, they probably wouldn't know that this boat was not that wide. And you can also adjust the height some too. But if you adjust it too much, you start noticing that there's some distortion around the guy, and he doesn't look in proper proportion. And I'm going to show you some things to eliminate that problem. And the next thing I want to show you, if you go back to your info bar up here, is that we have this photo slider, and this is going to allow us to zoom in on our images. And I'm sorry if I said photo slider, that should be photo zoom. This is going to allow you to zoom in on your photo, and if you increase that, it'll zoom in, but it'll start distorting again. And you notice that the guy doesn't look that great. He might have had a bad day, who knows, but this image does not look right. And if you pull the image back some and draw the zoom level back, he starts looking a little bit more normal. But you can zoom in a little bit without too much distortion, but if you get crazy with it, you get this really bad distorted picture. So let's go ahead and hit the undo key and keep going back until we get back to the original image that we had. And you shouldn't have any arrows on the side of your image once you get back to that original photo. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to click on the mask mode tool in our toolbar. And if you're familiar with the mask mode tool, or if you watched one of my tutorials on it, you know that the pink area is the protected area. And when we clicked on that mask mode tool, you probably noticed that our cursor icon changed. And it changed to the freehand and cursor tool. I'm sorry, not cursor tool, the freehand and brush tool. Not sure why I said cursor tool there. But yeah, it should be the freehand and brush tool that you see here in our toolbar. And what you want to do is you want to draw around the area that you want to protect, or the area that you don't want to distort anymore. So if you double left click and draw around this boat, and I don't have a drawing pad for my computer, so it's really hard for me to draw around that. So if you're like me and you get a result like that, just go ahead and hit the undo key in your bar up here and go to your quick shapes. This is one of the things that I do because I don't have a drawing pad and it's a lot more complicated. Choose the rectangle tool and go ahead and draw around the area you want to protect. And so you can protect it a little bit faster and a little bit more efficient by using some of the quick shapes. Now you can make adjustments if you wanted to, but I don't want to do that because I want to keep these tutorials pretty short. So I'm just going to use the rectangle tool. So once you get a good rough shape around this image and you fairly have the area protected that you want, go ahead and click on your photo content scale aware tool in your toolbar. And once you have that selected again, we're going to invert this mask because we want to protect this area of the image. And right now it's not protected because it's not covered with pink. So if you go to your mask mode tool and you click on invert mask, it's going to invert that mask. And also you could have hit invert mask in your info bar if you wanted to as well, if that's faster for you. So make sure that you have the pink area over the boat and the guy. And once you have that, go ahead and hit prepare. And we'll get the 4 arrows again. And if we adjust the width and the height, you notice that there's very little distortion around the guy. And unlike before, he doesn't look very stretched, looks very normal. And even the boat proportions look very normal when we adjusted the width of the image here. So a lot better in terms of maintaining the proportions and very little distortion. And also if you wanted to zoom in, if you go back to your info bar and we zoom in on the image, you notice that the guy doesn't look like he's having a bad day. He looks like he's having fun, you know, out there on the boat. So you can definitely zoom in a lot more with very little distortion using the mask tool. So I hope this tutorial was helpful in helping you understand how to use the content aware scaling tool. There is one other thing that I want to show you that is very important, and that is the optimize option. And what this is going to allow you to do is optimize your images for the internet so that your pages load faster. And you got to take into account that different people have different internet speed connections, and you want to make sure that they're able to load your web page fast. So let's go ahead and click on that, and it'll give you this warning. Hey, this reduces the resolution of images to 96 dpi and removes any hidden parts. This does not change the dimensions on the page. We do not recommend this if you want to enlarge or basically change the image later. And so my recommendation is that you make a backup of the images that you may have on your camera, on your computer, so that if at any time you need to make adjustments, you can always just bring the picture back into the program and use the original image that you had before. So with that said, I have one recommendation. Don't hit the optimize key yet. I would hit settings and I would click on the resolution option, and I would set this to 150. And I would also make sure that your JPEG quality is set to 100. And the reason that I recommend this is because if you don't do that, you're going to get a slight blur on your image. And let me show you what I mean. Let's go ahead and hit cancel and click on optimize. And let's go ahead and optimize it the way that the program would normally do it, which is 96 dpi. And take note of the image quality here. And I will look at the guy. You're going to see a little bit of distortion. Hopefully you can see it on screen. When I hit optimize, there's a slight distortion. I don't know if you can see the difference. I'm going to go back and forth between the two modes, and you'll notice there's a slight distortion on the image. And while this is barely noticeable, it is noticeable. And if you want things to flow a little bit better with your website, when you hit that optimize key, I would recommend clicking on settings, clicking on resolution, and setting it to 150 to give you a higher resolution, and make sure the JPEG quality is set to 100. Hit optimize, and it's barely noticeable that there's a blur there. It's very unnoticeable. And what that's going to allow you to do is to have a very crisp and nice picture image on your website, and have it flow with your content. I think it's really important to have a very sharp picture on your website because it makes it stand out. So in my opinion, you should set it to 150 dpi. You don't have to take my advice. You can leave it at 96 dpi if you want to. But keep in mind, you do want to optimize your images because it's going to save on the time that it takes for your web page to load, and also it helps with your ranking in the search engine. So if you care about ranking really well, make sure your images are optimized. It's a really important factor for SEO, which stands for search engine optimization. So I hope this tutorial was helpful in teaching you how to use the content aware scaling tool, and I hope that it was helpful in showing you how to optimize your image and helping you to get also a better ranking in the search engines by increasing the speed, or I'm sorry, reducing the time that it takes for your pages to load. So don't forget to embed, subscribe, give us thumbs up if this video was helpful, favorite, leave a comment, suggestions on new tutorials if you want. Do whatever you want, just give me some feedback. It's much appreciated. And thank you to all the subscribers that I have received. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the comments I've received so far. It has motivated me to make more tutorials for you guys, so stay tuned for future videos.